Welcome back, everyone. Oz here, and today I've got some r/entitled parents for you all. As per usual, I'll be reading the post, giving you my opinions, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. Aria Afton. My mom has been refusing to take me to the doctor. So it's been really cold in my state lately, like freezing. My mom still makes me go outside and run for exercise, even when it's way too cold for that. Well, surprise, surprise, I ended up getting sick, and now instead of taking me to the doctor, she's just ignoring it and acting like it's not a big deal. I'm tired, coughing, and just overall feeling awful, but she won't listen. She says things like, the nearest urgent care is in insert city. That's at least $100 in gas. Like she hadn't gone to that city a few days prior to have dinner with my dad. Or she'll say, it's not that serious, I'm not paying $100 just for a little cold. Like I haven't been vomiting every now and then since I got sick. Or the most annoying one is when she says, you're just doing this to skip volleyball practice. Like, why would I want to feel like this? Sure, practice is a bit draining, but I'd rather be a bit tired and sore than be as sick as I am now. It feels like she never wants to take care of me. She never takes me anywhere anymore unless she's getting paid by me or it's specifically for her. I don't know if I'm being spoiled or not. That's what she calls me when I tell her I don't like something that she did. It feels like she never apologizes even when she's done something blatantly wrong. She only apologizes around family when it makes her look good. I'm tired of all the yelling whenever I try to ask her about going. I don't know what to do right now. I'm just ready to pass out, honestly. Next volleyball practice, go to a coach, tell him what's going on. That's really all I can say. Like, just immediately go to your coach, tell them how sick you've been, your parents won't do anything. Like, get the school involved. That would be my first recommendation because they'll definitely be able to help you navigate this because to me, this sounds like some form of neglect. Like, that's my opinion. I know that might be a bit extreme, but if the mother is willing to go to dinner dates in this far-off town that's $100 worth of gas, but not take their child in when they're obviously not feeling well, that's concerning, to say the least. Also, as a general recommendation, if you're not used to running and you are like just now picking up running, try to avoid really cold weather or else you'll end up with runner's cough and that is fucking hell. Let me tell you what, I've made that mistake a few times and it is just an absolute hell. But if you have some ways to get past runner's cough, please let me know because honestly I would love to go for nice winter runs, but the amount of damage it seems to do to my lungs is just not worth it. Meep, 3920. Am I wrong for setting more boundaries with my parents? Dad tried to stay at friend's 21st birthday brunch uninvited. I, 23 female, have been financially independent for a year and living on my own since I was 18. While my relationship with my parents is okay now, my childhood was tough. I struggled in school and was often the only person of color in a racist school. This led to constant arguments and a lack of support from my family. As a result, I've spent most of my adult life adjusting my personality around them while feeling more like myself with friends and coworkers. This past weekend, my boyfriend's little sister had a brunch for her 21st birthday. My dad needed to drop something off, so I told him he could bring it to the restaurant. When he arrived, we were still waiting for a table, and he told me he was just going to eat with us. I wasn't expecting this since he hadn't mentioned it beforehand or asked. While everyone was polite about it, I pulled him aside and explained that this was her special day, meant for her friends, and I knew everyone would have to censor themselves if he stayed. Plus, I had been the designated driver all weekend and planned to let loose at brunch. Today, my mom called and said my dad was hurt by this and still struggles with me being independent. I get that he may feel lonely, his job is stressful, my mom travels a lot, but she's not always emotionally supportive. That said, I've started seeing and calling my parents less because, honestly, I prefer to interact with them on my own terms. I've built a supportive family with my friends, which has been great for me. Am I wrong for asking him to leave and continuing to set those boundaries? Edit, thank you all for the responses. I've spent my whole life letting my parents insert themselves where they weren't wanted, so I've been actively working on setting boundaries. The support from this post reassures me that I did the right thing and need to keep enforcing those boundaries moving forward. I also wanted to add that I'm an only child with older parents, but that doesn't change the situation. I'll likely have to keep putting my foot down to prevent this from happening again. Thanks again for all the support and advice. As it seems the comments have certainly gotten to, you were definitely in the right to set these kind of boundaries. This wasn't some kind of family setting. where, he was invited to initially, he just decided to stay at someone else's brunch. So yeah, he wasn't welcome, he wasn't invited, and just because people were welcoming towards him doesn't mean it wasn't out of some kind of awkward, like, I guess you can stay? Definitely don't be afraid to keep your boundaries up, and it honestly may not be a bad idea to like Pavlov your parents for when they're being good and accepting your boundaries, because honestly, maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea to take your dad out to brunch or something like that to just kind of like reward him for respecting the boundaries that you put in place there, and just kind of, hey, I know this upset you for me not letting you participate in brunch, but how about we go to brunch together? And just kind of reinforce the fact that when they respect your boundaries, they get to see you more often. Because what your dad did was certainly just unwelcome and kind of rude, and I just guess that he probably made the awkward decision because he was lonely. It's no excuse for it, it's just possibly an explanation. But still, like, you did the right thing by setting boundaries, and you didn't accidentally ruin your boyfriend's younger sister's 21st birthday by having your dad, kind of wandering into brunch for some reason. So yeah, definitely exercise those boundaries. Crazy Cat Lady, 1993, with all Ks. Advice: mother/mother-in-law uses her daughter's death as a way to gaslight/guilt trip. Basically what the title says. I'm posting on my wife's account. My, 29 male, sister tragically passed away 6 years ago. There are other issues at hand which I will post in the comments if asked. My, 60 female, mother has been using this fax as a way to guilt me into doing whatever she wants. This came to a head after I had my kids. When she visited after my wife, 31 female, had our son, she cast a shadow over the joy that should have been his birth and made it about my sister's death anniversary. During this visit, she disrespected my wife and I's wishes, giving pacifier, not pace feeding with bottles. She also made my wife cry several times. After this, we decided to try to lessen contact. Well, wife unexpectedly got pregnant when our son was 5 months old. This time, we tried to better establish boundaries. My parents came for a visit Thanksgiving of 23. My mother completely disregarded our wishes regarding our son and had a meltdown when wife asked her not to do something, giving him candy right before dinner as an 11-month-old. They were also coughing when they visited and gave us COVID. After they left, we decided to ask they wait a few months to visit after my daughter was born. My mom threw a fit of epic proportions, making this once again about my sister and blaming my wife for tearing up the family. She booked the trip and flew out anyways when my daughter was 5 weeks old. Wife wanted her to wait until daughter had her first round of shots. Come to now, my daughter had her first birthday. My mother, not 1 minute later, put up the photo of my daughter on social media. Wife sent a polite message asking her to take the photo down. Mom threw a fit, said to my wife that my kids these are my grandbabies. She does this every time my wife and her get into a disagreement, and got the rest of the family involved. My grandfather sent a nasty text saying I was a terrible son, and how dare you do this to your poor mother 2 days after your sister's death. You are cruel / this is BS, etc. This is where I might be an asshole, as my wife was the one to contact my mother about asking her not visiting for a while after my daughter's, as well as taking down the social media post. However, this doesn't excuse a lack of respect of my wife and I regarding our children. I've been ignoring their texts, as they won't like what I have to say if I do call them. My father just called and basically worded his voicemail as, "You will call." I'm over it, and want to go no contact with them. Do I tell them I'm going no contact or just block them? My parents are crazy enough to book the next plane here or contact the police for a welfare check. Update. Hey Reddit, it's the wife, 31 female. Even after reading all your replies, my husband is not going no contact with his mother, even though he told me he would after seeing what she's done to me and the kids. They kept calling and texting, getting his brother involved. She apologized to him for his grandfather's text. I don't know what else he said. He said he was going to minimize contact with her. So, yeah, I don't know what to do now. I understand not wanting to cut a parent off, but there is a point of distance. I am seriously contemplating if I want to deal with this woman for the rest of her life at this point. The disrespect and interference I can only take so much. Can I navigate this marriage and never talk to her again, or is that impossible? I love my spouse, but this rolling over again and again and her sniffling and sobbing is killing me. My crying is met with huhs and reassurances, but he always crawls back to mommy. I don't want to leave and leave my kids to her whims, but I am thinking about it, trying to be careful as I realize this is getting into r/marriage territory. I don't know where I'm going with this update, but it wasn't as he promised it would be this time. I'm sick of being his family's punching bag, but I seriously have nowhere else to go. I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea what to even add to this because this was not the twist that I was expecting, and this is actually just really sad that the husband, went on Reddit, kind of puffed his chest out, but then ended up just kind of being a spineless slug that crawled back to his parents. My first recommendation would be to probably go to some kind of marriage counseling with your husband and try to knock some sense into him, and his parents are 100% in the wrong here. They're not respecting your boundaries. They're doing things their way when you don't want to do it their way. They're posting your children on the internet, which I personally have a huge problem with publicizing photos of your children on the internet. That is something where if I ever have a kid, the world probably will not know what they look like or have any other details beyond the fact that I'm a father until they're 18. Because I just don't like the idea of publicizing every little milestone of their life on the internet for strangers to gawk at. That's just not my cup of tea. Granted, I'm also in a very different situation than someone who's just simply posting family photos on Facebook. But I still do believe that if you post a photo of someone else's child, even if you're the grandparent, if they ask you to take that photo down, you should respect their wishes. Now, overall, she definitely needs to have a conversation with her husband, and the husband needs to fucking step up and actually, talk to his parents and draw a line, because he's talking this mad game about, oh, if we have a call with them, they're not gonna like what I have to say. Say it! It's tearing your wife apart, dude. Come on, man, please. Lex Gones, my story of an entitled mom. A lot of the information here may seem irrelevant, but trust me, it'll make sense as the story goes on. So, I went to Catholic school from 1st to 12th grade. When I was in middle school, there was this local charity/volunteer organization that would come twice a week and hold an after-school tutoring program in our school. Every week, 2 days a week, they had volunteers come and help students with homework. I decided to join and went for the entirety of my middle school years. Every year, they would give select 8th graders high school scholarships. These scholarships were for those who planned on attending a private school and met the requirements. When I was in 8th grade, I and one of my friends, who we'll call Marissa, were some of the students they selected. I felt so lucky that I got the scholarship, as it took a huge weight off my parents. I knew I wanted to continue my education at a private school, and this was the only way I would be able to since we couldn't afford all of it ourselves. However, there was this one girl in the program who didn't get the scholarship. We'll call her Serena. Her mom worked as a secretary at the front office of the elementary/middle school I went to at the time. They were both pretty upset, especially Serena's mom. Serena has always hated my guts for some reason and was always jealous of me. She and I ended up going to the same high school together. Some of my other classmates from middle school also went there. For a while, I had the idea that her parents were paying for her education out of pocket since she was one of the students that didn't get a scholarship from the organization. But then, I found out that wasn't the case. During my freshman year of high school, all the students that were awarded the scholarships were invited to have breakfast with their sponsors, as well as volunteer for a bit. The breakfast was on a school day, which meant we would have to miss the morning half of our classes and get excused absences. A couple of days before the event, we were in class and Serena was reading an email on her laptop. The boy sitting next to her got curious and asked her what it was about. She said, "It's for a scholarship I got." She said that loud and clear, as if she wanted me to hear her. When I heard her say that, I was a bit surprised, but then decided to think nothing of it. I just ignored it and brushed it off. When the day of the event came and I got to the building where it was being held, I saw Serena there. I was filled with confusion. Then we found out the truth from a couple of close friends and acquaintances. Serena's mom couldn't accept that her daughter didn't get the scholarship, so she went into Karen mode and sent the organization an entire email, angrily ranting about why her daughter deserved the scholarship. She even had the nerve to demean my friend Marissa, who I mentioned earlier, saying it wasn't fair she got it because she was only in the program for 1 year while Serena had been in it longer. Serena's mom also had the audacity to tear me down in her email, essentially saying I didn't deserve the scholarship because of a vacation I had taken outside of the country for spring break that year. BSFR, it's not like that trip came to us easily. My parents saved up for a while so we could be able to do it. We also found out that the principal was in on her little scheme and helped her. I was appalled to learn about that. One of the volunteers from the organization, whom we had a close friendship with, told my mom that Serena's mom and the principal kept bombarding her and the sponsors with angry emails. As a result, they ended up giving Serena a scholarship basically so they can be satisfied and get Serena's mom and the principal to leave them alone. It was a last resort decision. When I found that out, I was disappointed. The students who got the scholarship put their blood, sweat, and tears so they could achieve it. Serena acted as if she earned it fair and square, which filled me with rage. At least I can say I didn't have to have my mom and school principal beg for it to be given to me. Thankfully, this kind of shit would really only work on a high school, and my guess would be is the mother probably tried this again for a college scholarship, and they're not going to tolerate that. They're going to kick her to the curb and probably put her on some kind of blacklist, so at least you have solace in that. She may have gotten into a private high school and had a sponsor and a scholarship and all that, but at the end of the day, once she finally graduates, that same tactic isn't going to work to get her into a college of her choosing. But from the sounds of it, OP here probably at least had a pretty decent shot of getting some kind of scholarship for a university of their choosing, and I hope they did. Also, I feel like there may have been some kind of breach of confidentiality for one of the sponsors to tell you about that email chain that happened. I'm glad you know about it, but I'm kind of wondering if they were even allowed to do that in the first place. But it is also incredibly fucked up that she went for the approach of throwing 2 students under the bus just because she felt her daughter deserved it more. The board of sponsors that probably approves the scholarships probably does their homework and research on whether or not someone actually deserves the scholarship at hand, and they probably made the choices they did for a reason. Honestly, though, I would be shattered if I found out that, my father or my mother, spammed emailed one of the institutions I got a scholarship from and essentially bullied and forced them to do that, and I didn't actually earn it on my own merit. That would probably crush me. Former fruit. Mother bought me a present for Christmas, and I have explicitly stated I have no interest in it and feel terrible. I'm 29. My mother got me a pair of Birkenstock sandals for the summer for Christmas, and I absolutely hate them. And I have told her this before. I sound so ungrateful and hate my attitude, but it's also what I know this represents. She keeps going on about these shoes, and every time before she gave them to me, I said I have no interest in them, which is the truth. I have sandals already, which do me fine. I did not need new shoes. She has her own, and I feel she's trying to inflict this on me. Every Sunday when I'd see her in summer on a day off, she'd comment on what I was wearing. Why aren't you wearing sandals? At least you're wearing sandals today. I'm already dreading the summer now because I know this will be the existence of every Sunday. Good, you're wearing your Birkenstocks. They're great shoes, aren't they? And I have no choice but to go along with it, or I'm just the worst person in the world. I have stated on so many occasions I do not like the brand. I don't find the shoes comfortable. I'm also trying to improve my spending and saving habits. I refuse to buy things I do not need a duplicate of. Cut down on what I don't need, quality over quantity. That's another reason I can't stand having the new shoes. I know I didn't pay for them, but I do not need them. My current ones work perfect even at around 6 years old. I wore them all summer long and love them. I went to Rome in August around 30 to 40k steps a day, and they were ideal. She does it constantly with 2 pairs of shoes she has already bought me. Whenever I wear them, she comments or asks, "You're lucky to have those shoes. Are they very comfy, those shoes?" Every single time. Look, they're only shoes. It's absolutely harmless, but it's still very strange that she has to do it every time. I think my issue lies more with what I know this represents rather than the shoes. I remember looking at them when I got them in the box. There is a separate toe split as well, which I detest. I feel so ungrateful because her intentions were good, but she spent a lot of money too. What do you think? Why is she trying to push this onto me when I've said I'm not interested? So real quick before I get into any of the semantics, my guess would be is your mother probably did not listen to you because she swears by them and believes that these are so comfy and once you wear them once, you'll understand and never want to take them off again. That would probably be my guess, is she thinks that she can crack you by just having you wear them once. I also do sympathize with receiving a gift that you just have no interest in or even have expressed that you have no interest in, but you still end up with it for some reason. And the kind of social pressure that gets put on you because of that. It's not fun, and it definitely sucks because you feel like an asshole for not being gracious and accepting of the gift, But, also, you made it clear you weren't interested in this, so it sucks. But also, you're 29. You gotta be able to put your foot down and just probably tell your mother, hey, wasn't a fan of these. Found them really uncomfortable. They really hurt my feet. Got blisters. You can either make excuses for it to kind of let her off easy so that way it's not her fault, or you can just give it to her straight and let her know, I told you multiple times I had no interest in these shoes and they're not comfortable. I don't find them to be appealing for me, so I got rid of them. You didn't listen to me and I can't really help you with that. You got a few options there, and yeah, they both kind of suck, but at the same time, your mother really should have just listened to you that you weren't interested in getting those shoes, and instead, she probably thought she knew best, and once you try them on once, you'll just fall in love with them, when in reality, no, you just don't want them. They're not your type of shoe, not your style, and that's okay. And plus, you already got a pair that's rocking you good. Why would you want to switch? Summoned Barry. My mom pressures me to introduce my boyfriend to her, but I don't want to. Firstly, I would like to say that I genuinely do love my mom. She supported me in almost everything, was there for me during my recent hard times, so I do not hate her, nor do I have any reason to. I'm 22 years old, about to turn 23, but ever since I was little, I was very ashamed for everything by my family. My looks, what I enjoyed to eat, when I would get sweat stains on my shirt, my private journal that they found, my toys, etc., including my mom. And I feel like I grew up to be extremely private and secretive, avoiding any chance to get shamed again at all costs by rarely, if ever, sharing details about my personal life and what I like, etc. My mom has a habit of judging people extremely harshly and always finding a flaw in somebody. We could be walking on the street, a gorgeous girl passing us, and if I mention her, wow, she's pretty, she would say, yeah, I don't know, her thighs are kind of big, and her hair is too thin, and her dress is ugly. The worst part is she does this to my friends as well. I'll show her a group picture and she'll start judging every single thing about everyone in that picture. She will make mean remarks to the face of my closest friends that she'd met plenty of times, such as mentioning so many times how wrong a certain makeup looks on my friend's face. I still live with her, even though my biggest wish since I was a teenager has been to move out. I simply can't afford anything else right now with being a student. Because of this, I had always hidden every boy I've dated from my parents, especially my mom. When she did find out about somebody, she would not hesitate to denigrate him as much as she could, to my face. He could be the most gorgeous guy, but she would always overly point out every small thing that she finds as a flaw. When she won't point out the looks, she'll find the smallest detail about their personality, over-exaggerate it and make it seem like they're such a loser. For example, I would plan a vacation with a partner, she would say all his suggestions are shitty, and we're very boring people. And these were plans for trips to Marbella, Capri, Sardinia, etc. I've been dating my current boyfriend for a year and a half now. She found out when we were 2 months into our relationship, and ever since then, she mentions how he's impolite and rude for not coming to meet her. It's not like he's a complete stranger to her. My brother and him were friends for many years, and they often hang out in the same group of friends. After a couple months, while she constantly pressured me, I mentioned to her that I don't view meeting the parents as necessary right now, that I'm old enough to decide my life with someone for myself, and if it were to get to the point of being engaged with somebody, then yes, surely she would meet them. She got very angry and said that this is not normal, that she will always need to meet them way before it gets to that point, that she finds it rude of me to hide them from her. I did not elaborate on why I'm doing it, but she did not stop complaining about not having met him. I simply do not want to hear her harsh, rude, and aggressive judging about my partner like she did with every partner or friend from the past. I do not want to give her the opportunity to mock anything about him to his face. Am I in the wrong here? Is it really that wrong to wait for things to be very serious, like engagement, until someone gets to meet my parents? So in most circumstances, I would say yes, but you do have a pretty good set of reasons for wanting to essentially keep your mother away from them. I also don't know if OP should confront her mother on this kind of behavior because it sounds like OP's mother is the kind of person to hold grudges or hold previous behaviors over your head as a reminder of how horrible you are, quote unquote, of course. Because OP also has the impending boulder hanging over her head that her mother, out of just a fit of anger, could just revoke her being able to live at her parents' house and just gone. Find your own place now. So I do believe that OP should navigate this situation carefully, at least while living with her mother, so she doesn't stir up the hornet's nest and accidentally put herself at risk. I would also recommend that OP, when you do move out, you should definitely reevaluate your relationship with your mother and keep her at an arm's length. Don't go no contact, but definitely let her know how you feel and tell her that you're not interested in a relationship until she betters her behavior towards not just you, but the other people around her. It sounds like your mother has a lot of insecurities about herself that she projects onto other people, and that might be part of it. And it sounds like she just needs to get better about that. Because that behavior that she's giving towards you, your friends, about your appearance, their appearance, or just general personality stuff, things towards your partners. It's just ugly behavior. And I would say once you move out, you should make it clear that she needs to better her behavior. I don't know. I found it weird that OP said that, like, oh, my mother's always there for me and she loves me, but then, in the next paragraph listed off so many awful things that her mother has done to her. I'm wondering if the support is more financially there, but not emotionally, which that can certainly suck. For the time being, I think OP should definitely focus on just doing what they can to keep themselves safe and to make sure they don't put their future housing situation at risk. Now, if your mother isn't the kind of person to, kick you out upon any kind of argument, then perhaps a conversation would at least be needed for why you're uncomfortable with bringing your boyfriend around. If she is the kind of person to do that, you're kind of left with two options of kicking the can down the road and hoping she doesn't continue to be suspicious about it, or, unfortunately, bracing your boyfriend for your mother's insanity and just hoping that you can, get it done and over with. And it sounds like that's not what you want to do. It's also something that I wouldn't want to do either. But for those of you in the audience, if you have any recommendations or thoughts or disagree what I've said, then please, of course, comments. Let me know how you feel. I'm always interested to know what you all think because we all have different experiences from different walks of life, and who knows? Maybe one of you actually has the perfect solution here that I just don't see. Hey, welcome to the outro. Don't forget this whole thing is basically brought to you by GamerSupps. If you like caffeine, then I can't recommend GamerSupps enough. Use code Oz at checkout to support the channel. And I do actually use this product. It's replaced all other sources of caffeine for me because I feel good. It doesn't have any of that extra stuff that a pre-workout blend might have. It's with a couple of the extra things to make it so you don't crash as hard. It's good. I like it. Personally, if you really want a good flavor, try the Soda Pressing Pear or even the Dragon Fruit Punch. Those two are my personal favorites right now.